this workshop on how to boost your motivation for study, especially in this COVID times, how to boost your motivation. But before I start talking about this subjects, give you strategies and tips, before that I will want to tell us a little bit about myself. My name is Gootje Visser. I'm a teacher and an educational specialist at the Haagse Hogeschool in The Hague, the Hague University of Applied Sciences, at the study of pedagogy and social work as well. Right now I'm in Bonaire. I'm actually a little bit close to you guys. I'm born in Curaçao, born and raised in Curaçao, and now I live in The Hague and I'm a teacher there. Well, let's start. How to boost your motivation for study. At first, I want to tell something what we're going to do today, this hour. We're going to finish just 5 minutes before 2. So we're a little bit early, 5 minutes before 2, we're finished. What we're going to do is first, I'm going to tell you a little bit about learning goals. What are you going to learn today from this workshop? Then a little bit of introduction. Then we're going to go into a little bit into the theory of what is motivation, what is intrinsic motivation, what is extrinsic motivation, and what are the obstacles and challenges in your motivation. Then we're going over to overcoming procrastination and a little something about the motivation fairy. And then we're going to practice a little bit more with 4 motivational strategies. And at the end, we'll do the evaluation. Just short for what are we going to do today. Please, if I go too fast, let me know, then I go slower. But first, let's see, maybe you guys, if you read these questions, you recognize this in your study, because you're all students. Where is my motivation? Do you recognize it? Do you find it hard to start your assignments? Or do you find it difficult to follow through on goals you have set? Or maybe you recognize this one. Do you find it difficult to follow the online courses and classes in this COVID period? I want to click on the next. Yeah, there we go. Well, what are you going to learn today about motivation? Because I hope at the end of this workshop, you will learn something or gain something from this workshop for your motivation. And that is, I hope at the end of this workshop, you will get tips and tools that will help you to increase your motivation, work more effectively, and gain a more positive outlook on your study experience. So I hope at the end of this workshop, you will learn a little bit more and have a little bit more confidence in your motivation to work through everything on your studies in this sometimes difficult times. But first, how about your motivation level of you guys? What is your motivation level right now? I want to ask you that with Menti.com, I'm going to stop sharing this and I'm going to share the Mentimeter so you can fill that in. So wait a minute, I'm just going to stop share and then share my other screen. And now I'm going to ask you, can you please fill in, go to Menti.com and use code 19861456 and fill in what is your motivation level. Is it high, medium, or low? Right now, or generally this week, maybe. I see some mediums, I see some lows, lots of mediums. And fill in whatever you think. And lots of mediums, some more lows, no highs. It's a busy week. Even my students also in the Hague University, they have it really busy this week. So I can imagine, okay, I see a lot mediums and some lows. I'm going to stop share this and go back to the PowerPoint. Nice to see all your levels. There it is. I hope you can see the PowerPoint again. Let me see the chat. Yeah. Okay. Well, now we know a little bit about your motivation level, and probably, of course, you all know what the word motivation kind of means. But before we go into all of that, because we all know and we use the word a lot, but what does it actually really mean? And what do psychologists from research say what it actually means? Well, motivation from the literature, it's on the PowerPoint as well, but I'm going to read it out loud for you. Motivation is an internal process, so it's inside of you. Whether we define it as a drive or a need, motivation is a condition inside us that desires a change, either in the self or the environment. So when we tap into this well of energy, motivation endows the person with the drive and direction needed to engage with the environment in an adaptive, open-ended, and problem-solving sort of way. That is how they see it. Maybe you recognize it also what's underneath, which says motivation is a person's ability to find the energy to achieve a chosen goal. So it's something inside you that you get out of you to say, okay, let's get there and do this. Let's achieve a goal. That's how psychologists say, and maybe you recognize it like this. But good to see. Maybe some of you already know this from study and learning from your study, that there are two kinds of these motivations. And these affect your choices. And we call these two kinds of motivations extrinsic motivation and intrinsic motivation. You see as well the pictures, maybe some of you recognize it. Extrinsic motivation is when you do something or act a certain way because of factors external to you. So for example, look at the picture below. Behavior is driven by external rewards, such as money, fame, grades, and praise. So for example, you think, okay, I'm going to study this because I want to have a good job and earn a lot of money. Or I'm going to study this because my grandma gives me, when I have good grades, gives me 10 guilders. Or no, I want to do this because I want to be famous. Or no, I just want to do it because I want a really high grade. Or I do this because I want to get a praise, because maybe I get a, like in primary school, you get like sometimes a sticker or a krul. Maybe some of you recognize that. So extrinsic is something from the outside. Towards intrinsic motivation is when you are internally motivated to do something, because either it brings you pleasure, you think it's really important, or you feel that what you are learning is significant. You think, okay, I really need to learn this because it's important for me. I want to learn this. And you look at the picture, you can see this girl there. She doesn't just do it for the grades to learn, but she does it because she wants to learn more. Engage in the behavior because it's personally rewarding, not for fun or an external reward, but because she wants it. So I hope that was a little bit of the theory that I wanted to share with you. But then there also are maybe some obstacles and challenges in your motivation when you're studying. And here I put down some of these obstacles and challenges I know my students sometimes have. And the first is abundant choices. So that is like what to start with. There's so much to choose. What do I to start with? Which task do I choose? Which project do I choose? Because there's so much. Especially the one that says it's doing the thesis. Sometimes the thesis is so overwhelming much that you don't know where to start. Or maybe you're afraid of failure. You have a fear of failure. From, oh no, I don't want to fail. I'll be stupid. I'm afraid to do this because otherwise I'm a failure. Or maybe you have a fear of success. Like, oh no, I'm always doing good and otherwise I'm not doing good enough. Or a lack of clarity, that you don't see I say it in Dutch, the tree through the forest, that you don't know where to start. That is, or sometimes also, you don't really understand the teacher, like, okay, what does he mean with this assignment? I'm not really sure. How do I get this? Or exhaustion. You're just too tired. You're so especially in these times, I know this COVID period, lots of my students, they study all day long, even in the evenings, because it's hard to have a balance and you can get really exhausted. Or maybe you think it goes too slow. You have to wait for when the teacher tells you something and you think, okay, I'm not getting motivated anymore because it goes too slow. Or maybe you compare too much. You compare yourself to other students. You think, oh, but they're so much better than I am. How am I going to do this? I'm not good enough. I'm not as good as they am. Oh, how I will do this? Or distractions. Maybe you recognize those. Your phone, maybe. Or like, oh, I'm going to do something else. Oh, look, there's a message. Or I'm going to do this. Or excuses. Maybe you recognize these. That you say, oh, yeah, but shopping is also really important today because the avondklok is there and then I have to go to do some groceries and maybe you recognize those. So these are some of the obstacles and challenges I know students have. So I'm curious about your obstacles and challenges. So I'm going to ask you again to go to menti.com. I'm going to stop share and going to share the Menti. Wait a second, there I go. Yep, so I ask you again to go to menti.com and fill in the code 68872010. You can fill in the obstacles that apply to you. You can also use other obstacles, just the ones that apply to you, your challenges and motivation. Nice, I already see a lot. Being lazy, okay, yeah. Lack of clarity, yeah. It's always a difficult one. Not confident. Oh yeah, procrastination, overthinking. I know that one as well. Excuses, exhaustion, distractions. Yeah, if the words are bigger, then more of you guys have filled in that word. So fear of failure is one that you guys have. Social media, yeah, it's a distraction. Lack of self-belief, yeah, also important. Language is also something difficult. I noticed that with my students as well. The subject is pointless, that you think, why am I studying this? Okay, we're going to focus on that later. Nice, guys. Lots of challenges to overcome. Okay, I'll just wait one more little bit to see what else there is. I have to cut my head because it says some are vertical. Workload, a little bit too much. Annoying, yeah, can also be. Yeah, rejection. Time management, also important one. Thanks. Okay, I'm going to stop share and share the PowerPoint again. So this takes a second. There we go. Here is the PowerPoint again. Sorry if there's some background noise. Here is procrastination. We already talked a little bit about that word, and some of you guys already said that it's a challenge and an obstacle. For the ones that know that word, I also had to look it up, but procrastination is the act of putting off until tomorrow, or until later, what can be done today. So the act of putting a little bit off, oftewel in Dutch, uitstelgedrag. So learning more about yourself is one of these key factors in understanding how to overcome procrastination. So it's so important that you know more about what works for you to overcome this procrastination, because you know best how you are and what works for you. That's especially in all this workshop of All About Motivation. It's all about what works best for you, because there are lots of tips and strategies, but you have to find out what works best for you and learn more about yourself. Well, I got some tips for you. Of course, there are more, but you have to find out if maybe it works for you for procrastination. The first is organize your work environment. Just make a clear desk, not too messy maybe. Organize your time. You have weekly, monthly calendars. Maybe you have to-do lists. For me, that doesn't always work, a to-do list, because sometimes I want them so nicely looking that I go writing them over and over again. But for some, it will work. Regularly set aside 30 minutes kind of blocks of time to complete your task. So you say, okay, I'm going to work 30 minutes now on this. And then, okay, now I have to do the next thing. So otherwise you'll spend 2 hours doing something and you don't see that anymore. So after 30 minutes, plan another 30-minute period. Another tip is whenever possible, schedule tasks when your friends are busy. So there's no distraction. And you have nothing else to do, so you're sure they're not going to text you or something else. So you know, okay, now I can go easily sit and work. Or if you, a big tip from procrastination is to say, okay, you're going to sit behind your desk and you have to start in 30 seconds. Otherwise, you're going to grab your phone again. You're going to Google something on the internet. You're going to watch a YouTube movie. Now, start working 30 seconds after you sit down. Then I'll go to something that's called the motivation fairy. This was for me really interesting. I also have it in the PowerPoint. I put down a link, and you all get the PowerPoint at the end of this workshop. And there is a link in it to this article. There are some psychologists that did research about motivation. And something I always believed, and maybe you guys as well, is that I thought, okay, I need motivation to do something. So you need motivation before you start doing something. Otherwise, you can't start. But they say, no, that's not true. You have to act first, and motivation will follow. Just start. Also, if you don't have any motivation, just start. Action leads to motivation. It is a big research with students, and they really say that is the big thing for motivation to get. So not the other way around. Okay, then we'll move over to some motivational strategies. Of course, you know, there are a lot of motivation strategies, but I chose 4 strategies that I think work well in these times. But of course, one size does not fit all. So what that means is that you have to choose your own strategies that works best for you. Let me see, Joshua is saying something in the chat. You do not think about the end to start, and it will come to, yeah, nice, Joshua, yeah. So we're going to discuss 4 more strategies, and at the end, it's for you to decide which one fits best for you. So not every strategy you heard today will fit well to you, but try to find out which works best. Okay, the ones that I'm going to share with you today is the first is find your why. So why did you choose to study? Why are you doing this? The second is setting goals and objectives. The third one is creating a study environment, a working environment. And the fourth is having a network, having a good social network for your study. So I'll just start with the first strategy, and that is finding your why in your study motivation purpose. So finding your way is getting study motivation through purpose. And what I always guys want to tell you about this is that study motivation, you really need, before you study, to find why did I choose to study. So one of the most powerful ways to find motivation is to reflect on the reasons why you choose to study in the first place. So if you remember, okay, this is why I did this. Even if you have a subject you really dislike, maybe you have mathematics or statistics and you really dislike statistics, but you really like to become maybe a psychologist, but you need statistics for it, or you really want to become a researcher. You need that subject. So if you know, okay, but I want to go there, then it can help you to motivate. So I want to ask you guys to write down 3 things why you choose your study. Why are you doing this? Why did you choose this? You can put it down in the chat or write it down for yourself. If you know your whys, even know your whys for a course or a subject, if you know what really drives you, why did you do this? Write it down like a motivational quote. and stick it on your desktop, or put it on your computer, or on your desk where you sit, where you study, so you won't forget. Why are you doing this? Even if you have a not so nice subject to follow, of course, oh yeah, but I have a higher goal. So that's the second question I want to ask you guys, and that is, make your own motivational quotes. Just for a second, try to think of something you think, okay, what does really helps me to motivate? Like you can see here, stay motivated, or the other one, it says, is a little progress each day adds up to big results. Maybe you guys have other motivational quotes that help you. For example, they're more like, don't stop until you're proud, or you only feel when you stop trying. Just do it. Like, yeah, I like that one. Or go for it is also one. Let's go to the next strategy, and that is setting goals that motivate you. Maybe you guys all have heard of making goals. I think in your studies, teachers always tell you, make goals, make learning goals. But there are a few tips for making learning goals. And the first one, I'm going to explain it one a little bit later, is breaking it down into small steps. So, for example, the one you're making a big paper or your thesis, it's such a big thing. But when you try to think it in little smaller steps, like tiny steps, then it worked with me, for example, and I think, okay, then I can do it. If I do this little one, and tomorrow I'll do another little one, and another little one, then all of a sudden, you're on the halfway of your big project. So breaking it down into small steps. Second one, it works for me as well, is think positive. If you think negative, you think, oh, this is too big. I really can't do this. This is too much for me. Then you'll never get there. You have to think, okay, I can do this. I have this, I got this, I can do this. Then the third, I think all of you have learned that in your studies. The teachers always say, be specific, be measurable. I always tell it to my students a lot, and make it time limited. So what it means is, make it concrete. Make it like, okay, I do this and I end it before tomorrow morning at 9. I finished it. But also be realistic in it, because if you have okay, I finish tomorrow my entire thesis, then you'll never finish, because it's not realistic. Another one that sometimes works, not for everyone, is make it stimulating. It's like, make a little challenge in it. Otherwise, sometimes you get a little bit bored, and if you make a challenge for yourself, then it can also mean more fun. And of course, if you're being realistic, you can also say, like, ask yourself, how much can I achieve in the next hour? Because I heard in the other group this morning, they said, yeah, sometimes I'm really good at making goals, but then I make 20 learning goals and I all want to finish them the same day. But it's not realistic, and you get so tired, and then the next day you exhausted and you're demotivated because it's not fun anymore. So be realistic in your goals. Yeah? Oh, no, it's not the next strategy. Sorry, I forgot. I wanted to go a little bit further into the breaking down into the small steps. What I said is, what it really helps if you break down big projects and assignments into tiny steps, like baby duck steps. For example, you have to do a revision of a paper. It can be a bigger thing. And you say, okay, what do I do? I make it into a smaller step. I will read the reviewer's comments before tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock. And when I finish, I allow myself to drink a good cup of coffee. And then it's more realistic, and you motivate yourself to do something nice after that. And it's smaller. It's more, realistic. So let's go to the next strategy. And that is, what really helps with what you say, Darcy, it's a match, because creating an encouraging work environment using oils or smells is also a thing. That's it, because you're creating your own best study environment. What is and for you, Darcy, that is the oil, and also, you found research that says it's good for your brain. So that's a really good thing. But maybe you also recognize the other ones. Like, some people really like routine. They want to study every morning, start at 8, and then do some do some gym, do some sports, and then work a little bit more. Every day the same. But otherwise, other people really dislike that, and they work better with change. Like they say, okay, now I feel like going to the gym, or now I feel like shopping, or and it depends on what works best for you. For some people, routine works better, for other change. Same as study location. And I know this one is a little bit more difficult in COVID times, but some study better in cafes, some study better in the library, or some better in their own desk. So find the place that fits best for you. And this is also one I use a lot. It's like, do you listen music when you're studying, or do you prefer silence? Some people prefer silence. I like a little bit noise, so I've often, when I have to really focus, I put something on called like Noisy Cafe. So I hear all like, or rainy Saturday afternoon. So you hear like rainy cafe, you hear rain noises and people chit-chatting, or a little bit of jazz. Okay, so these are the first things of the encouraging work environment. But you can also use study techniques, and there are more study techniques, but I want to tell you a little bit today about the Pomodoro technique. The Pomodoro technique is this, but what does it mean? A Pomodoro is, in Italian, it means a tomato. So it's a tomato technique. Well, why is it called a tomato technique? There was, in the late 1980s, by a university student from Italy, Francesco Sergilio. And Sergilio was a student just like you guys, but then in the 1980s, and he was struggling to focus on his studies and complete his assignments. He felt overwhelmed, and he asked himself to commit it to just 10 minutes of focused study time. So he said, okay, I just have to focus for 10 minutes. That's all he asked himself. And then, encouraged by the challenge, he found a tomato, Pomodoro, kitchen timer. You guys know a kitchen timer? Yeah, but then shaped in a tomato, or in Italian, a pomodoro. So he got this. In these times, we're not living in 1980s. We just have our iPhone and use that one as a timer, but he used a kitchen timer. What he did is, like some of you already know and already told us, you pick a task. You set not a 10 minutes, but a 25-minute timer, so that's a little bigger than Francesco Pomodoro created. So it's 25-minute timer, and you work on your task until the time is up, until the 25 minutes. Then you allow yourself to take a 5-minute break. And after 4 Pomodoros, this after 4 times 25 minutes, you take a longer break. You take a 15 or 30-minute break. Then I'll slide over to the 4th strategy, the last strategy of today I wanted to share with you guys. And that is creating a support network for yourself. Well, especially in these times, but I think always, I think it's a really important one, but it depends on what kind of person you are. Some persons it affects more than others. Surrounding yourself with people that encourage you to stay focused and positive and help you to stay on track. That's the thing I think, it can really help, even though it's tough now in COVID times. Well, try this. For example, meet each other online, or make an appointment to study at the same time. I know lots of my students, they do that a lot. They when they have to study together, they cannot go physically together. They WhatsApp each other or FaceTime each other and study with their phones next to each other, so they can see each other. Say, okay, how far are you now? And what they do is they call it. They all have their phones, and they put WhatsApp, FaceTime group on, and they just keep it on and work and study. And then sometimes they ask each other something, and they just see each other's faces. So it's nice to see each other's faces. It's not the same, of course, but it can help a little bit. And so I wanted to ask you guys to write down for yourself a little bit. You don't have to put it in the chat, but write down for yourself who is in your support network. Or maybe was it before COVID, because now you didn't have really, you didn't fidelize it yet. It's not active. So write down for yourself. You don't have to put it in the chat, just for yourself, who is in your support network. And then if you wrote it down and maybe you noticed, yeah, like, oh, I didn't really contact them for a long time, make a commitment. Vitalize your network again, contact them again. Try to maybe go outside for a walk after studying. Maybe that's allowed in these COVID times, to do some outside walk with little distance. And so it's because, yeah, finding your study group or your network, it's for most people it's a really important. Of course, there are people that say, no, I don't need it, but for most people it really helps. And remember that you don't need to do it alone. If you're someone who feels motivated by working with others, try to find your network and help keep you on track. Okay, well, we got 4 strategies already. We talked already a lot. We saw a lot. But of course there are more. Like I said in the beginning, you have to find your own, what works best for you. It's not one size fits all for motivation. So find what's best for you. And of course there are more strategies, and I put them down here. And maybe you guys recognize these. Start with the easiest task. I never really use it, but I know a lot of people that do use this one. So you think yourself, okay, because there's so many big tasks, start with the easiest task and then the next, and then you slowly on getting motivated because you're starting doing something. Reward yourself. Reward yourself after reading 5 pages or 5 chapters. Reward yourself with a nice cup of coffee or with chocolate. That doesn't always work with me, because sometimes, I don't know if you guys recognize that, but then I think, okay, if I read that chapter, then I get a cookie. But then I start eating all the cookies. Or write down what you have accomplished. Because sometimes you think, oh, I've done anything. And if you write down what you all have or checked in the checkbox, which tasks you already have done, and you suddenly see, oh, they really actually did a lot, and I'm doing really good. So write down what you have accomplished, and yeah, then you can be more motivated because you see, okay, but I already did all of this. Another tip is study when you have the most energy. Like if you're more a morning person or an evening person, if you want to really have to focus on something, start doing that when you feel, okay, this is my time, this is my energy time. Well, this one is one that works best for me, and that is try to find something you like in every task or subject. Sometimes you have to do something, and in the beginning you think, oh, this is really boring, or this is so not interesting, this is not my thing. But then you start like looking a little bit into it, try to find, maybe there's something in this subject or in this course that is a little bit interesting. So yeah, maybe it also helps you. It helps me a lot. Then I can, oh, okay, oh, that's kind of interesting. And then I start liking it more and motivate myself. Another thing is spreading out your study periods. So don't do it all in one day, but spread it out. Spread it out a little bit more. And then there is celebrate small wins. So like if you wrote down that we have accomplished, say, okay, but now I did something really well. I finished this course with a really good grade. Then I can go shopping, or I can go to Starbucks, or like I always used to do, I bought always earrings when I got a good grade. Every time I got a good grade. Something like that, can maybe choose whatever helps you. Another important one is prioritize self-care. Just take care of yourself. Look for balance in your life, because like I already told you, what I noticed a lot in my students I help is that they really find it difficult in this COVID times to balance, because you're home entire day and you study, and there is no more time for private. Do you guys recognize that you go on and on and on and on, And then you forget, okay, but I could also just go sport, or not only in the evenings, but in the weekends also go study. Just also take care of yourself and also do something nice. Go walk a little bit, go swim, go whatever. Go talk to someone on the phone if you can't see them. Take care of yourself. I hope you guys got something from this and are a little bit more motivated. And I hope you guys have what is in this picture next to this, that I want to say to you. You got this, guys.